You're a calm person. You know you are. You don't yell, you don't slam doors, you don't start fights. But then, out of nowhere, something tiny happens. Someone cuts you off in traffic. A friend cancels plans last minute. And this rage rises up from somewhere so deep it scares you. Where does that come from? Carl Jung had a very specific answer, and it might completely change how you see yourself. Let's start here, with something most empaths and highly sensitive people share. You probably grew up being told your emotions were too much, too dramatic, too sensitive, too intense. So you learned to compress it all down. You became the peacekeeper, the one who keeps it together, the one who asks, "Are you okay?" before anyone thinks to ask you. And anger? Anger was the emotion you buried deepest, because somewhere along the way, you decided that anger was dangerous, ugly, unacceptable. Maybe you watched someone lose control and it terrified you. Maybe expressing anger got you punished, emotionally, physically, relationally. Maybe you simply decided that good people don't get angry. So you stopped letting yourself feel it. But here's the thing, and this is where Jung comes in. Emotions don't disappear just because you suppress them. They go somewhere. Jung called that somewhere the shadow. The shadow is the part of your psyche that holds everything you've decided is unacceptable about yourself. Not just anger, fear, jealousy, neediness, selfishness, pride. All the parts of you that didn't fit the identity you were trying to maintain. And anger, for empaths specifically, is almost always the most suppressed shadow material. Because empaths are supposed to be compassionate, right? Compassionate people don't rage. Except they do. They absolutely do. And the longer you deny it, the more dangerous it becomes. This is why you get that unexplained explosion over something small. It's not about the traffic. It's not about the canceled plan. It's decades of compressed rage finally finding the smallest crack to pour through. Now let's get into the real psychology here, because this is where it gets incredibly precise. Jung didn't just say, "You have a shadow." He explained exactly what happens when shadow material gets denied long enough. He called it Enantiodromia. That's a Greek word that basically means everything pushed to an extreme eventually transforms into its opposite. Think about that. The person who is relentlessly positive eventually breaks into despair. The person who is aggressively selfless eventually erupts in resentment. The person who has suppressed anger for years eventually becomes consumed by it. Jung wrote that the shadow grows in the dark. Every time you deny your anger, you're not weakening it, you're feeding it. You're giving it more energy, more charge, more pressure, until it finds a way out, usually in the worst possible moment, toward the wrong person, in a form you don't even recognize as yourself. Now here's the neuroscience that backs this up, because I want you to understand this isn't just poetic metaphor. Research on emotional suppression consistently shows that unexpressed anger doesn't just vanish. It gets stored in the body, in muscle tension, in chronic pain, in a nervous system that stays stuck in low-grade threat response. Dr. Bessel Kolk's work in The Body Keeps the Score directly supports what Jung intuited almost a century ago. Emotional suppression increases psychological distress over time. It doesn't reduce it. So, when you feel that unexplained rage, what you're feeling is the accumulated weight of every moment you chose silence over truth. Every time you smiled when you wanted to scream. Every time you said, "It's fine," when it absolutely was not fine. Every time you absorbed someone else's cruelty and told yourself it wasn't worth addressing. Your shadow kept score, even when you didn't. And this is crucial to understand, especially if you've been in relationships with narcissistic or emotionally unavailable people. because those relationships create the perfect conditions for shadow rage to accumulate. You can't express anger safely with a narcissist. It gets weaponized against you. So you suppress and suppress and suppress until the relationship ends or until you're out of their orbit, and then the rage comes flooding in and you don't even know what to do with it. That's not you being unstable. That's your psyche finally feeling safe enough to feel what it wasn't allowed to feel before. Okay, so this is the part that matters most, because understanding your shadow rage is one thing, working with it is another. Jung's shadow integration isn't about becoming an angry person. It's not about unleashing your rage on everyone who ever hurt you. It's about reclaiming the energy that's been locked in that suppressed emotion and using it consciously. Let me break this down into something practical. Step 1. Name the anger without judgment. This sounds simple. It is not. Most empaths have such a strong inner critic that even acknowledging anger triggers shame. I shouldn't feel this way. That's not who I am. I'm better than this. Stop. The moment you judge the anger, you push it back into the shadow. Instead, try this. When you notice that rage rising, even the disproportionate kind, say internally, "This is anger. I'm allowed to feel this." That's it. Just that. You're not acting on it. You're not expressing it outward. You're simply allowing it to exist in your awareness without immediately suppressing it again. Jung called this holding the tension of opposites. You can be a compassionate person and feel rage. Both are true, both are real. Step 2. Ask what the anger is protecting. This is incredibly powerful. Anger is almost never the primary emotion. It's the guard dog. Under most rage, you'll find something much more vulnerable. Hurt, betrayal, fear, grief. A boundary that was crossed so many times you stopped noticing. So when that disproportionate anger comes up, instead of acting on it or suppressing it, get curious. Ask yourself, what am I actually protecting right now? What need went unmet? What boundary was violated, maybe a long time ago? You might be surprised what surfaces. Sometimes the rage at your partner canceling plans is actually grief from childhood, from a parent who was never reliably there. The present-day trigger is just the doorway into old, unprocessed material. This is shadow work in real time. Step 3. Give the anger a channel. Jung was very clear that shadow material needs expression, but not necessarily direct expression at the person or situation that triggered it. Write it out, uncensored, in a journal no one will read. Move your body, run, lift something heavy, dance in your kitchen like you're furious, because you are. Speak it aloud in a safe space, with a therapist, alone in your car. The point is, the energy needs to move through you, not stay locked inside you. When you give suppressed anger a legitimate outlet, something shifts. The charge reduces, the disproportionate explosions become less frequent. Not because you're suppressing it again, but because you're actually metabolizing it this time. Step 4. Reclaim what the anger was telling you. This is the deepest part of Jung's shadow integration. Every piece of suppressed anger contains information. Information about your values, your limits, what matters deeply to you. Anger at injustice tells you something about your integrity. Anger at being dismissed tells you something about your need to be truly seen. Anger at constantly giving without receiving tells you something about the reciprocity you deserve. The shadow isn't your enemy. It's the part of you that refused to die even when you tried to kill it. And the anger within your shadow, it has been trying to protect you this entire time. Learning to listen to it, rather than suppress it or act it out unconsciously, is one of the most profound acts of self-knowledge you can practice. Jung called the goal individuation, becoming fully, authentically yourself. You cannot individuate while denying half your emotional reality. The rage is part of you. The question is whether you want to relate to it consciously or keep letting it run your life from the dark. I want to leave you with this because I think it reframes everything. In Jungian psychology, the shadow isn't just a dumping ground for what's broken in us. It's also where our unlived strength lives. For empaths, suppressed anger often contains something extraordinary: fierce boundaries, authentic voice, the capacity to say no and mean it, the ability to walk away from what is genuinely harming you. Think about it. The empath who has never integrated their shadow anger, they keep returning to toxic relationships. They keep overgiving. They keep explaining themselves to people who have no intention of understanding them. Because their anger, the part that would say enough, is buried too deep to function. But the empath who does this work, something changes. Not into someone hard or cold, but into someone with what Jung described as the spine to stand in their own truth. Your sensitivity doesn't disappear, it deepens, but now it's anchored, protected, yours. That is the real gift of Jung shadow integration. Not that you become less emotional, but that your emotions finally start working for you instead of against you. If this really resonated, I want you to drop one word in the comments right now. What emotion have you suppressed the longest? Just one word. You don't have to explain it. Just name it. That single act is the beginning of shadow work. And if you want to go deeper, the next video explores exactly why empaths attract narcissists through a Jungian lens. It will genuinely shock you. Subscribe so you don't miss it. I'll see you there.